I don't want no oil, a spoil in my shoreline. I like fish much better than crud. I like birds and things, a creeping and crawling. Won't trade no more oil for blood. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that black demon oil's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. I don't want them nukes run by them kooks who think radioactivity is fun. No more three-headed frogs or kids with leukemia. Nuclear power ain't fit for a dog. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that nuclear power's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. No nukes!
All right. Good morning, Toledo, and good afternoon, Columbus, and hello to everyone listening on the internet, wherever you are. This is Joe DeMar, your host for the next hour in our program For a Green Future. And For a Green Future is a show where we talk about ecology and environment, and we talk about them in the ways they affect you, your health, your happiness, your pocketbook. And today is a very special program, of course, because today is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. And some people consider the earth as Mother Earth. Other people kind of reject that whole idea. What do you think? Do you think we should be celebrating the earth on Mother's Day, or do you think Earth Day is enough? Or how does that whole notion grab you of the idea of Mother Earth? It goes back very far in our culture. I mean, the Greeks had the earth as a mother and the heavens as a father. That was thousands of years ago. And it's sort of a recurring theme in a lot of religions and cultures that the earth is a mother. And you can kind of see that because the earth literally provides everything we need as we're going along, everything we need for food and shelter and warmth. But just a thought, but your actual mothers, the ones that gave you birth, today is their day. So, and just sort of a little piece of interesting history about Mother's Day itself. The original Mother's Day was created by a pacifist, by a woman back in the 1800s who said, we are losing way too many of our sons to war. That mothers everywhere on both sides of any conflict, we're sending our boys off to war and they're getting killed, and it's been going on for thousands of years, and it's time to stop. And so the Mother's Day was actually a pacifist holiday. It's kind of shifted focus more onto the mothers themselves, and it's a nice day to take your mother out for a walk or to go out to a restaurant and something. But keep that in your mind somewhere, that the origin of this holiday was actually the idea that mothers are the ones that suffer the most in wars because they lose their children in wars. And so there's a strong element of nonviolence and peace in the whole concept of Mother's Day. So let's not lose that. And let's not lose you. We're going to be talking about ecology and environment for the next hour or so. And we have a great show coming up. We have Markie Miller is going to be joining us again. Markie Miller, if you've been listening since we started this back at the beginning of the year, we had Markie on as a guest a couple times before Toledo passed the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. And I like to joke, I like to say, well, she was the first person on our show to be on twice, and then she went to the United Nations and spoke before the United Nations General Assembly on Earth Day. So that's, so you can look at this show as a stepping stone to fame if you like. And you can call in at 866-240-1065. We're going to open up the lines at 8:15 or so. That's 866-240-1065. to get on for a green future. And Markie is going to be talking again about the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, but unfortunately, it's not good news this time. There's a dramatic development, as they say, in the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, and she'll be telling us about that. She'll be joining us about 8:15. In the meantime, I wanted to talk about a couple things. And one of the main things I wanted to talk about was the whole idea of lawn spraying. And every year with spring comes the lawn truck and the smell of herbicides and pesticides. And as an environmentalist, as an ecologist, I really don't like this habit of spraying chemicals on our lawns. The whole notion of having a pure, quote-unquote, pure lawn, which is one species of grass, one color, uniform, to me, that is, it's uninteresting. It's kind of boring, and it's not really worth the sacrifice, the money, and the environmental sacrifice that comes with spraying all these chemicals on their lawns. And this is why I love this show, because this is, this doesn't reflect the station. I am the political director of the Ohio Green Party, but when I'm on this show, I speak only for myself, and the same with my guests. And as myself, I'm saying, consider not hiring a lawn service. Consider not covering your lawn in chemicals this year. Our house, we have had our house down in Bowling Green for about 8 years now. So that's 8 years that lawn has not had any sort of chemicals sprayed on it. And I went out and counted yesterday, and we've got over 30 different kinds of plants growing in our lawn. And they're all different colors, and they're different shades. And you look across our lawn, it's not this monotone green that looks kind of like AstroTurf. I mean, if you want AstroTurf, you can tear up your lawn and lay down AstroTurf. But our lawn has 30 different kinds of plants in it. And right now, and as the summer goes on, as the spring comes along and as summer goes on, different plants and different flowers sort of come to the fore. We had snowdrops. So we had a while there where we had a whole bunch of snowdrops in our lawn that looked beautiful. Right now we've got violets. And this year was such a great year for violets that our whole lawn, sections of our lawn are just this intense purple color. And we actually couldn't bring ourselves to mow them completely. So if you drive past my house there in Bowling Green, you'll see there's these little islands of dense violet flowers. And we'll cut them down after the flowers are done. But the basic idea is that if you are a little bit tolerant to diversity in your lawn, if you're a little bit open to the idea of different plants and sort of looking at your lawn as a natural adventure to see what grows there and what wants to grow there, I think a lawn with a lot of different plants and a lot of different shades of green that puts up flowers and different sorts of things, I think that lawn is more beautiful than the single monotone green. Do you agree with me? Call in at 866-240-1065. That's 866-240-1065. This is the best show in the Ohio area, but it gets better every time you call. So some of the plants that I know are growing in my yard, well, let me back up a little bit. I'm going to go back to my youth here. And I had a book when I was growing up. It was called Edible Wild Plants of North America. And it was by this fellow named Bradford Ainger. And that book had a huge influence on me as I was growing up. Excuse me here. Because the idea that nature, that wild plants, that plants that humans don't have to put there, is providing plants that just grow on their own that we can eat. They give us valuable stuff. To me, that sort of blew my mind, because we're always taught, in this culture, we're taught that the environment is a hostile place, that nature is out to get you, that there's horrible insects and animals and poisonous plants. And I don't know if you've ever watched that show on Discovery, Naked and Afraid. That's one of those shows that they have it on at the gym when I go to work out. And it's one of those that you sort of can't tear your eyes away from sometimes. But they paint wilderness, they paint nature as this very hostile place that you're lucky if you can survive 30 days out in the wilderness. But in reality, if you know some of these plants that are growing all around you, if you have some idea of edible wild plants, you can kind of look at nature the way it really is. It's a bountiful system that provides us with food and shelter and medicinal herbs. I was just going to run down some of the wild plants I know that are in my yard that are actually edible or useful. I mean, there's, for example, there's dandelion. A lot of people know about dandelions. And the spring greens, when they first come up, then you can cook them. They're actually not bad. They're kind of tasty. There's a plant called plantain, which it's an invasive species. Actually, the Native Americans called it white man's foot because it was one of the first really invasive species that came in and sort of changed the ecology of North America with the settlers. But it's a plant that is edible. The leaves of it are edible. And I remember I would use it. I would wrap hamburgers in plantain leaves and cook them that way. Used them kind of like grape leaves. And it really added this delicious flavor to the hamburger. It was really a good plant. And then there's another plant that if you're a gardener, you know this plant because it's, quote unquote, a weed. It's a very pervasive weed. It's called, quote unquote, weed. It's called lamb's quarters. And the thing about lamb's quarters that a lot of people don't know is that it's related to spinach, and it's actually more nutritious than spinach. And in my opinion, if you cook it with a little bit of butter, it tastes better than spinach. It's got this really mild flavor. And so part of me has a hard time weeding my garden because I'm pulling up this plant, which I know is delicious and more nutritious than spinach. The thing about lamb's quarter, the reason we don't see it in our supermarkets is because it doesn't keep. A lot of the plants that we see in the produce section are there because they can be shipped in trucks and trains, and they can last for days and weeks without dying. And lamb's quarters can't do that. You pick it, you need to eat it right away. It'll wilt pretty quickly. But that's just one. There's another plant growing in my yard called shepherd's purse, which is a cute little plant. It's got these arrowhead-shaped leaves. And shepherd's purse has salicylic acid in it, which is aspirin, basically. And so it's got this nice, sweet little flavor. It really kind of livens up a salad. And if you have few aches and pains, if you're out in the garden weeding and so forth all morning and you're kind of sore, you can actually just go pick some of this shepherd's purse and wash it off and chew on it, and you'll actually get the benefit of that salicylic acid. So this is something that kind of changed my view of nature once I learned that a lot of the plants out there are actually really good for us, and nature's sort of trying to provide it for us all the time, and often we're sort of refusing. But a healthy yard, in my opinion, has a lot of different plants. In my opinion, if you see a whole bunch of different plants, you've got a lawn that's not overly sprayed with poisons or toxins. And that's very important in a healthy ecosystem. And so, segueing over to our guest, a healthy ecosystem is what we all want. Healthy ecosystems means that we're healthy. If there's no pollution, if the water is clean, if the air is clear, then we are going to do well. And a group of people here in Toledo pushed forward something called the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. And the goal of the Lake Erie Bill of Rights was to ensure that Lake Erie stayed a healthy ecosystem, that it stayed clean and pure. And one of the main people pushing that was my guest, Markie Miller. Markie, are you on the line?
I am. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us again, Markie.
Mm-hmm.
So, this dramatic development with the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, something's going on down in Columbus. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. And before we got that news, we found out that we were not allowed to intervene in the current lawsuit that was filed against the city of Toledo. So we were shut out from our lawsuit first, and I think it was the very...
So let's back up a little bit there. So you passed the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. You put it on the ballot here in Toledo. And so the city of Toledo passed it saying that Lake Erie has rights and that anyone can essentially sue on Lake Erie's behalf in order to protect those rights. And so then this lawsuit, you're saying the state came in and did what?
Well, first it was an entity called Dravis Farms Partnership, and they filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Toledo trying to revoke what the voters of Toledo had voted on and agreed to, which would be the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. We made a motion to intervene on behalf of, as defendants in this case. And
so
the state of Ohio...
When you say we, you mean...
Toledoans for Safe Water.
Toledoans for Safe Water,
group.
Right? And so,
yeah, but we also made a motion to intervene as Lake Erie itself.
Okay, that's cool. And of course, Toledoans for Safe Water, you're the ones who drafted this law, and so one would think you'd have standing in a lawsuit opposing this law. Right.
We definitely have an interest as the group that wrote it, circulated it, campaigned for it. And feel that we hold what the voters said they wanted in our best interest. And Lake Erie itself, we felt, should have some kind of voice in this because she was the one losing rights in this case. And then the state of Ohio filed a motion to intervene as a plaintiff in this case. And the state was granted their motion, and we and the Lake Erie ecosystem were denied. So that happened May 7th, I believe.
So as a plaintiff, so that means that this farmers group and the federal government and the state government as plaintiffs, they're all coming in and saying this law needs to go. And so at this point, the only one defending it is the city of Toledo?
Right. And if you go through the public docket that's available online, there's an order from the judge to have everything, both of the parties, or the parties involved were supposed to submit their arguments and their statements by the 10th. And it looks to us as though that will not be made available to the public, that it will be, a closed-door conversation. So very, very unhappy to find that out. We've been transparent and open and honest about what our intentions were, and to not have that same respect handed back to us is very disheartening at this time.
So essentially, democracy is being removed from this equation.
Yep.
Right.
We're silencing the people. And then what you were indicating on earlier, the following day, there was a budget bill proposed in the House, the state legislature, and the budget bill had a amended provision that basically said no one can file a lawsuit in state court on behalf of nature or ecosystems. So that was kind of slipped in there last minute. Not really. I'm not really sure how that fits into a budget bill, but it was an amendment. So that was voted on, and it overwhelmingly passed because this is a bill that made sweeping, tax cuts. And I don't think many people were going to sit there and read all 1,800 pages of this, but I think it shows where the state of Ohio is at when it comes to defending the rights of nature.
Well, and in 2014, this is how the Ohio State Legislature outlawed wind farms in Ohio. They just stuck a tiny provision in a back page of the budget bill. So there was never any public debate. There was never any discussion of, hey, is it a good thing to outlaw wind farms in Ohio? And so they just did it. And now then they came back 5 years later and used the lack of wind farms as justification for trying to keep the the nuclear power plant's open. But so this is
Right.
this is a standard dirty trick of politicians to use the budget process to pass laws and to make policies in a way that's completely undemocratic. So
Absolutely.
So it has passed. Has it been signed by the governor?
It's only been through the House at this point. I believe it's set for Monday in the Senate, but I'm not confident on the date.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be the next step. And I've from what I've read through different reports, there are some issues that might not withstand a Senate vote, but I don't think rights of nature is exactly on their list of issues.
Well, what do you think of this, Northwest Ohio? Are you someone who voted for the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, and what do you think of having your law struck down in a backroom deal in Columbus, something we decided up here in Northwest Ohio, up in Toledo, and having that essentially negated by no one is taking credit for this, as I understand. Is that right? No particular legislator is saying, "Oh yeah, I'm the one who stuck that in there."
Not that I've seen. We've been asking around, and I've got some potential names that came up, but I'm waiting to get that confirmed before I reveal it. So we've been asking around, and we're trying to get a feel for who exactly was the one to push this. And I'm just going to assume that it's some of the people we've looked at who have strong connections to the Farm Bureau. So we know lobbyist groups are behind, all of the obstacles that we've hit post-election.
Yeah, I don't think people really know just how big an influence business-oriented lobby groups are in our legislators. And so don't forget, 866-240-1065, the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. Did you think this was a good thing that this law got struck down, or is in the process of being struck down by nameless bureaucrats in Columbus? Are you like, yeah, nameless bureaucrats, great job? Give us a call, 866-240-1065. Yeah, I was touching on the role of corporate lobbyists. I think most people don't realize that a lot, if not most, legislation today is actually written by corporate lobbyists, because they go to the legislators and they say, oh, well, we're from the pesticide industry, or we're from the nuclear industry, so we know all about this stuff. We'll just write this law for you, and then you can submit it. And it's a great time saver if you're a legislator. You don't have to actually do your job, because they're willing to just do it for you. And so, this kind of thing, I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that this was actually written by, as you say, a lobbyist, perhaps from the Farm Bureau, perhaps from some other organization. But the whole thing is, the fundamental thing that's going on here is that we in Northwest Ohio, in Toledo, made a democratic choice. We were given a choice. Do you want a Lake Erie Bill of Rights, or do you not? And we chose the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, and now that choice is being taken away from us.
Absolutely. And quite honestly, if they think this illegitimate law is going to stop us, going to stop me, then I think they've grossly underestimated this movement. If anything, I'm more motivated than ever. And I'm not going to recognize laws that are passed by officials who don't recognize me and who don't recognize people. So, I'm ready to move this forward. This does not deter me in any way.
Mm-hmm. So what? When you're saying that, do you mean like you would go ahead and file suits anyway, even if this law passes?
I mean, if we have to, that's always an option. We can try that. It's not going to stop people in Ohio from passing and circulating rights of nature law.
Mm-hmm.
This is too important to stop. And this law, I don't think it's going to stop people who see the necessity of what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that you've you've touched a nerve there. I think that the fact that whoever is sticking this provision in the budget bill is not just publicly proclaiming it, that they're trying to get away with it without being named, without, there's no press conference. Nobody has stepped forward and said, yeah, I'm the one who got rid of the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. So first of all, they're trying to hide. That's a sign that they're afraid of what you're proposing and afraid of taking the heat for negating it. And two, the Republicans are proposing I think it was $86 million they're going to spend on, quote unquote, protecting Lake Erie from the agricultural runoff. There's this vague program that DeWine wants to put into place that is supposedly going to protect the lake, but I don't know. The history of the Republicans protecting Lake Erie is pretty poor. I know that when I was running for Senate, I ran for U.S. Senate back in 2016 as a Green. Portman, in all his literature, bragged about his environmental mindedness because he funded studies of the Lake Erie algae blooms. Well, we don't really need studies, do we? We know what's causing the algae blooms. It's the agricultural runoff. And
right.
And so they're both on the one hand trying to eliminate this fundamentally new thing that you're proposing, and on the other they're going to throw a bunch of money at the problem to be able to keep their own green bona fides there. They're going to say, oh look, we were spending money on it. But I think it shows that you guys are having an impact. I think it shows that Republicans are aware that most people now, and the polls are saying it's in the neighborhood of 70%, care about the environment, care about these terrible things that they're doing to the environment. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think people are starting to experience the problems more, and those are harder to ignore. It's easy to have someone rattle off facts to you and potential problems, but when you start to face them, that reality starts to set in, and unfortunately, that's what it's taking.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and the fact that it is happening, that things like global warming now have accelerated to the point that we are personally feeling the effects every day, and we're seeing on the news effects of storms that are enhanced by global warming and flooding that's being acerbated. That's a great word. Acerbated by the effects of global warming. It's good in that it, as you say, people have come to the realization that it's true, that it's happening, that we have to do something about it. But it also means that our window to do something about it is actually pretty narrow here.
Right.
We don't have much more time. So, is that
right?
Yeah.
Right. And it just makes it even more challenging when the people that we elect are not stop doing that and start moving us backwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what do you think out there in Northwest Ohio? 866-240-1065. Do you think Markie Miller is on the right track here? That we need to continue to fight this battle, or do you think this is kind of hopeless now? Or as I said, are you someone who voted for the Lake Erie Bill of Rights? Were you happy that it passed? Are you upset that it's being eliminated by this backroom deal? So, Markie, I did want to ask you, since I have you on the air, what was it like to speak in front of the United Nations?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, once in a lifetime opportunity, and just really, I felt humbled, to be able to represent my community and this body of work that we've moved forward. Just incredible. Those are the moments that keep you going when you're facing these local obstacles here. And it was great to have an audience that didn't need any persuasion. They were on board. They understood. They were aware of the amount of work that goes into this kind of effort. So, I felt like I was in the right place and among friends and, just an incredible, incredible opportunity.
So could you just very briefly, tell us what the message was in that speech? And sounds like it was very well received.
Yeah, and I was part of the opening session, and their subject, it was the harmony with nature, but their theme for the event this year was education and climate change. And from my perspective, was really that education needed to evolve beyond us just understanding what the consequences are, and to start understanding what's at the root of these problems, what's causing it. And it's not just these environmental factors we keep looking at, but rather the system of laws that we have created and that we abide by, that they no longer protect our ecosystems, our people, our communities. So that was the point I really wanted to drive home in terms of their what does climate change education look like? What does it need to look like? Okay.
Well, Markie, I would say that you going to the United Nations was a proud moment for Toledo. But I would say that the people down there in Columbus trying to revoke the Lake Erie Bill of Rights is an ignominious, is a shameful moment for the state of Ohio. So we're in, it's kind of all ups and downs right now, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, and then that's how it's been since the beginning. So, we expect that because honestly, it's those confrontations that create change. They're difficult and they're challenging and they can be unpleasant and you don't always get the result that you want. But I think each time that we have that opportunity, we need to see it as an opportunity and keep pushing so that we can keep chipping away at what's holding us back.
Well, and I think it's clear that if you didn't do anything, nothing would happen, that the
right.
status quo would continue and we just continue the downward slide. So thanks for
right.
helping to stop the downward slide there, Markie.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I've got to move on. I only have an hour show every Sunday morning here on 106.5 FM. But any parting thoughts or anything you want to say to the people before I let you go?
Only that we appreciate all the support that we've received over, just these last couple days, but overall, especially since the election. And we hope that people stay tuned. If you go to our Facebook page, Toledoans for Safe Water, you can see a couple quick ways that you can get involved. But just by submitting a photo, there's information on there with bringing some awareness to this budget bill.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Markie Miller of Toledoans for Safe Water.
Thank you.
And happy Mother's Day, Markie. I know you're. I don't believe you're not a mother, as far as I know. But
no. But I'll celebrate Mother Earth Day.
Okay. All right. Well, have a great day, and thanks for calling.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. That was Markie Miller. And so now it's time to hear from our wonderful sponsors. One of our sponsors is the Wood County Park District. The Wood County Park District is a natural resources conservation agency. They protect natural spaces, maintain quality green spaces, provide engaging program, and they teach people to love and respect nature, restore wildlife habitats, and lead outdoor adventures. The Wood County Parks protects 20 parks and nature preserves around Wood County that are open from 8 a.m. to 30 minutes past sunset every day of the year. And this yesterday, actually, I went to the Wood County Park District's plant sale. They have an annual plant sale at the Park District headquarters, and I picked up some native wild plants that they had grown in their greenhouses. And those plants that they didn't sell yesterday, although they sold quite a few, they were almost sold out. They did sell out on some things. I got the very last prickly pear cactus that they had. And you don't often think of prickly pear as being a native wild plant for Ohio, but it is, especially in the oak openings region. It can go, the range of prickly pear can get all the way up into Canada. So I bought some prickly pear. I bought some tomatoes there, some heirloom tomatoes, and I bought some other native wild plants. And they're going to continue to sell the remaining native wild plants at farmers markets in the area. So the first one's going to be at Bowling Green on Wednesday. I believe it's May 22nd. So if you didn't get out there on May 11th, you still have a chance to get some native plants at the local farmers markets. You can call the Wood County Parks for more information. And Wood County Parks has an app. You go to Wood County wcparks.org to find out how to download that app for your phone. They're on Facebook at Wood County Park District, and they're on Twitter at Wood Park Dist, D-I-S-T, and on Instagram at Wood Park Dist. And if you'd like to volunteer to help the Wood County Parks in order to keep them clean, keep out the invasive species, you can volunteer at wcparks.galaxydigital.com. That's wcparks.galaxydigital.com. And they just have one more upcoming event that they wanted me to tell you about, is they're going to have at the Carter Historic Farm, they have a wetland restoration project. And they're going to have the ribbon cutting on Saturday, June 1st, going from 3 to 7 p.m. And they've done a lot of work out there at the Carter Historic Farm. So be sure to get out there. And it's organized along with the Black Swamp Conservancy. And you can contact Rob Crane. He's the director at blackswamp.org. So their website, of course, is wcparks.org. And we're very grateful to the Wood County Park District for being a sponsor on this show. Our other sponsor for this hour is DeMar Consulting. DeMar Consulting is a computer consulting business. They will come out to your home and help you with your home computer. It may be that your computer isn't talking to your printer properly. They'll help you with that. Could be you've got some viruses or some malware on your computer. Even legitimate websites now have malware, so don't be embarrassed about it. Just get help. So you can contact DeMar Consulting. You can go to their website at demarconsulting.com. That's DEMARE, the word consulting.com. Or you can call them or text them at 419-973-3000. That's 419-973-3000. So DeMar Consulting for all your home computing needs. They will come out to your home and help you out. And if you're somebody who maybe isn't terribly computer literate, they will patiently walk you through the steps you need to use your email or send messages to people. And they'll help you out. Everyone who works at DeMar Consulting has a degree in computer science, so they know what they're talking about. Okay, so those were our sponsors, and it's 8:40. And it would be great. We've got 20 minutes left in the show. It'd be great to hear from you in those 20 minutes. We've already covered a lot of ground. We've talked about the idea of not spraying your lawn. And we've talked with Markie Miller about what's happening with the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. And we can talk about whatever you want, whatever ecological or environmental issue is concerning you right at the moment. Give us a call at 866-240-1065. That's 866-240-1065. Were you proud of Markie Miller when you heard that she went and spoke before the United Nations, essentially representing Toledo? Was that a proud moment for you, or was that kind of an embarrassing thing? Give us a call and let us know. So we have still coming up, of course, our letter from the future. But right now I wanted to talk a little bit about some environmental news. And I wanted to talk about the idea of greenwashing. I touched on this a little bit when we were talking to Markie, that the Republicans are really starting to feel the heat on all these environmental issues because they have done so many terrible anti-environmental things, from proposing to eliminate mercury regulations, to increasing the amount of pollution, to proposing that to remove groundwater from the clean water bill so that oil and gas companies can literally just take whatever pollution they're not allowed to dump into a river and just put it into the groundwater instead, literally poisoning the well for future generations. They're proposing all these awful things, and they're actually starting to take so much heat for it that they're starting to notice. And so politically, what you do if you're doing something that everybody can't stand, that everyone is opposed to, you start greenwashing. You start pretending like you are actually a champion of the environment. And one of the most frustrating things for me as a Green Party political person is when I see Republicans campaigning on the environment, bragging about how pro-environment they are, when I know, because I'm watching the legislative process, I know that they're actually doing a lot of things to hurt the environment. But what they'll do is they'll do 99 terrible things, then they'll do one good thing, one thing that's unarguably, yes, that was good for the environment. And then they'll use that in all their campaign literature and so forth. And we have a really good example of that. Last month, President Trump signed a bill which was passed bipartisan in Congress that set aside another 1.3 million acres of wilderness. And that is unarguably a good thing. That did help the environment. Now, most of that wilderness is in the desert. Most of that wilderness is in Southern California. And it's in a very arid area where there's literally no danger that anyone would ever try to develop that area anymore. Once upon a time, we would plunk down cities and villages wherever we wanted and just assumed that we would get enough water to support them somehow. That's what we did with Las Vegas, for example. But these days, if there's no water, there's no development. These days, we understand the limitations of water, that's a hard limit. So there was no danger that this 1.3 million would ever get developed. But still, it was a good thing that Trump declared it as a wilderness. But you have to put it in context of everything Trump is doing. And for example, in the Bears Ears wilderness area, he unprotected, Bears Ears and the Grand Staircase Escalante wilderness areas, he removed the protections just in those two places of 2 million acres. So first he removes 2 million acres from environmental protection. Then he tosses 1.3 million back in, and he's proposing to remove protection for another 20 to 40 million acres, depending on, how you do the math. So he's literally destroying tons of habitat, tons of wilderness. But he's going to go and put this 1.3 million under protection in order to, this is what we call greenwashing, because now you will see this in all the Republican legislation, or all the Republican publicity, the letters to their constituents, because Republicans care about the environment too. I mean, pretty much every human cares about the environment, and they want to be reassured that their party isn't destroying the planet. Well, I'm sorry, I can't give you that reassurance. Yes, Trump set aside 1.3 million acres, and yes, you will see that in the letters from your Republican legislators that they supported that. But I'm sorry, I have to break it to you. Net, they're destroying a lot more than they're protecting. And we know from Trump's action that the minute any of that 1.3 million acres would become valuable to an oil or a gas company, he would again remove the protections from it, because that's what he's done all over the country in about 40 different protected areas, 40 different pieces of wilderness or areas of national monuments. He has destroyed a lot more than he's trying to protect. So watch out for greenwashing. There's a lot of that going on. And we saw it here with the Ohio State Legislature, where they're going to eliminate the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, but they're going to give Governor DeWine, some tens of millions of dollars to protect the Lake Erie from the agricultural runoff. But are they really going to do that, or are they just going to study it? Is there going to be any actual improvement, or are they just going to have a number that they can point to and say, look, we spent $10 million or $36 million on this problem, but did they solve the problem? The basic solution to the problem is simple. You have to prevent the runoff. You have to prevent the spray, like the spray that people put on their lawns, the fertilizers and the herbicides that the farmers are spraying on their fields. Those run off and they get into the Maumee River, and then they go into Lake Erie, and they cause these algal blooms. And the algal blooms are exacerbated, again, the second time I got to use exacerbated in one show. The algal blooms are exacerbated by the warming of the lakes and the warming of the planet, because algae love warm water. But you get that mix of warm water, nutrients from the runoff, and you are going to create algal blooms. And unless you stop that, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. It doesn't matter how many education programs you create. If you don't stop the runoff, you will continue to have the algal blooms. And that threatens a $7 billion fishing and recreation industry all around Lake Erie here in Ohio. So, greenwashing, everyone wants to appear green, but you have to get a little deeper to see whether they actually are green or not. And what do you think? What do you think at 866-240-1065? Am I being too hard on President Trump? Am I not giving him enough credit for this 1.3 million acres? Or am I giving him too much blame for the 2 million he's already eliminated and the 20 to 40 million he's proposing to eliminate? What do you think? 866-240-1065. Love to hear from you. Just as I'm sure your mother would love to hear from you today. Don't forget it's Mother's Day, so be sure to get on the phone and call your mother or go visit her, take her out to dinner. We're probably going to go out for a walk in one of the Wood County parks. As I've been doing this show and telling all of you that Wood County Parks has over 20 parks that it protects, our family's only been to like half a dozen of them, and they're great, but we're going to explore a new one today. We're going to go to one of the parks that we've never visited before. So that should be an adventure. That's what my wife would like to do with me and our son. So that's what we'll be doing later today. What will you be doing later today? How do you celebrate Mother's Day? You can give us a call at 866-240-1065. And what was your mother's attitude towards ecology, towards environment? Did your mother try to instill in you any sort of appreciation for nature or any idea that you have a responsibility to protect the environment? Or was that just not on your family's radar? Was picking up your shoes from the living room floor more important than, let's say, putting stuff in the recycling bin? I'm curious. Let me know. 866-240-1065. So, speaking of family relationships, I have received, as I do every Sunday, my letter from the future. My great-great-granddaughter, Marie I, sends me a letter from the year 2299 every week. It's really great. If you've ever had a correspondence with someone, it's just wonderful. So here's this week's letter from Marie I. Dear great-great-grandpa, I've accepted Igor's proposal. Ever since Susan showed me that he has a daily webcast of his life as he follows the caribou herds, I've been watching him every day. More than 1 million people subscribe to his channel. I was a little upset that he didn't tell me this when we first started dating. He even included our evening conversations in his daily broadcast. But here at your future, we're not really concerned about privacy the way you were back in the 21st century. It's not considered a natural condition. After all, in Italian, there is no word for privacy, And in Igor's Sami culture, there's no room for privacy as people live and work together following the migrating caribou. So I was watching Igor's broadcast, listening to him talk about the caribou, when I realized that I loved him and wanted to be with him. This time I told Michael right away, I'm through with keeping secrets. Michael didn't say anything. He just looked crushed and walked away. I called after him, but he didn't turn around. Anyway, I've arranged for a few days off so I can join Igor on the trail and accept his proposal properly. Wish me luck, great-great-grandpa. Keep on trying to save the planet, because you will. Love, Marie I. So there we go, a message from my great-great-granddaughter that, yes, we will get through this, and there will be a green future. And that's really the reason I'm doing this show, is because I want to show people that a green future is not only this possibility way out in the sky that maybe it'll happen someday. No, the green future is a reality that we can make today. You and I can make a difference in keeping the earth habitable, keeping it someplace where human beings and animals and plants can survive. And it's not that hard. That's the thing, is that people paint this picture of a future without oil and gas and without nuclear. They try to paint this picture as if that future is being harsh and unforgiving, and we've got to give up things like central heating and we won't be able to carry our groceries home. No, you just make a few changes and it actually improves the quality of your life. Doing the right thing ecologically, doing the right thing environmentally, is also doing the right thing for yourself. So it's not just the planet, it's also for you. And one example of that are these plastic bags that people are so addicted to. I went, and on Earth Day, they had this at Bowling Green at the Montessori school. They had an Earth Day festival, and they had a workshop, little thing where you can make your own grocery bags out of an old discarded T-shirt. And we've all got them. We've got T-shirts in our drawers that either have things on them that are way out of date, or they're a little torn. There's maybe a small hole here or there, something or they're stained, and you just can't bear yourself to throw them away. Well, now you can just turn them into shopping bags. And it was a very easy process. All it took was a pair of scissors and about 10 minutes. And I made myself a cloth shopping bag out of an old T-shirt, which is stronger than these thin single-ply plastic bags. And it will last a long time. And if it gets dirty, you just throw it in the washer and wash it. And no difference in the quality of life. You still get to go shopping. You still get to buy whatever you want. And you just put it into your recycled cloth bag rather than a disposable plastic bag. So this is one of the main messages of ForA Green Future, is that the green future is a future where you're actually more comfortable, where you have a better quality of life. For example, geothermal heating. Now, a lot of people don't even know what geothermal heating is. So I'll tell you. Geothermal heating is where you take the heat out of the ground around your house and you concentrate it and you use that to heat your house. And the great thing about geothermal heating is it's reversible. So in the summer when it's hot, you can cool your house by putting the heat from your house into the ground. And then in the winter when it's cold, you heat your house by taking the heat out of the ground and putting it into your house. And the thing about geothermal heating systems is that they are actually much quieter than your typical forced air furnace. And they keep the house at a much more even temperature. The way forced air furnaces typically work is that you've got this low point and you've got a high point, and the house will cool down until it gets to that low point. Then the furnace will kick on. It'll bring the heat up to the high point. So all day long when you're heating, the house is fluctuating. It's going from the cold to the hot to the cold to the hot. Well, with geothermal heating, the way it works is it maintains the middle point. It maintains the even temperature so you don't get all those fluctuations. So geothermal heating is wonderful because you actually get more energy out of the ground around your house than you spend in electrical energy to move the working fluid through the coils that are in the ground. And that's how the heat is transferred. The fundamental principle is the same as your refrigerator. Your refrigerator takes heat out of the inside of the box and it dissipates it out through the coils in the back. So it's taking heat from one place and moving it to the other place using a working fluid. And it's exactly the same process with geothermal heating. In that case, the working fluid is water. So you're just taking water, you're circulating it around, cooling one area, heating another. It's great, and it works terrific. So there's a lot of things like that once you start doing the environmentally friendly way, you discover that it's better. Organic food, for example. Organic food, in my opinion, tastes better. And I would challenge you to do this. I would challenge you to go to a store, buy some carrots, buy some regular carrots, and buy some organically grown carrots. And so these are carrots, organically grown carrots are carrots that are grown without pesticides or herbicides. And get yourself a friend or a couple friends and set them down and do the blindfold test thing. Give them each carrot and have them taste it and tell you which one is better. They will tell you that the organic carrot tastes better. That the one grown with pesticides and herbicides absorb those chemicals. They get a bitter taste. And not only did those chemicals hurt the environment when they were sprayed, but they hurt the quality of the carrot. I mean, you can look at a carrot that's grown with chemicals and it might look terrific, but the actual taste, carrots are the one thing that really dramatically shows the difference between organic and what's done with conventional fertilizers. And the thing is that organic farmers every day go out and prove that we could grow what we need without these chemicals and without these herbicides and pesticides. It can be done. And the thing about all the naysayers, the ones who say we can't switch to wind and solar, not only can it be done, but it is being done every day. Germany has closed a bunch of its nuke plants and it's closing its coal plants. And the wind and solar power have more than made up the difference there. And once you start down this path of sustainability, of ecological balance, of doing things the balanced way, the right way, you find endless opportunities. You find that this is a limitless market, so to speak, that there's 1,001 ways you can improve the environment. Germany, for example, right now has a solar-powered train. And think about that. Trains are already the most efficient way to move stuff. You might have heard there's a commercial where 1 gallon of fuel can move 1 million pounds of things on a train. Well, imagine if that train were solar-powered. And in Germany, they didn't just imagine, they engineered it. They made it happen. And it looks like we might have a caller, and that would be great because we just have time to take one caller. So Raven's talking with him right now. Let's see if we can get him on the line. So, all right. Hello, caller. Yes, we've just got a minute. Can I hear from you?
Yes, absolutely. No, I heard you talking about your garden, and
yes.
I was just listening to someone else on the radio talking about Miami and what was going on with them cutting and using pesticides on their lawns, with Miami being such a large and developing city, and how this person had lived in Miami, and he could actually, he could tell that the environment was changing. It was getting hotter because of all of the pavement and rocks and everything that they're replacing their lawns with, and how detrimental to the environment that was.
Absolutely.
So if you just want to...
Yeah, I'm glad you got that point in, but unfortunately now we're out of time. But thanks so much for calling, and don't hesitate next week. We'll be on 8 to 9 o'clock.
I don't want no oil, a spoil in my shoreline. I like fish much better